Hi everyone, I'm Mike Kobus. Welcome to Maryland's great Chesapeake Bay. Today we're going to show you how to catch those famous Chesapeake Bay Atlantic blue crabs, and by the end of the day, we'll even show you how to cook and eat them. You will hear my past experiences of crabbing this area of the bay for the last 20 years. We will crab in a beautiful creek, and we will visit and crab one of Maryland's most precious and popular rivers, known for some of the largest crabs caught, the Wye River. It's going to be a beautiful day, and it'll be my pleasure to share it with you. I'd like to introduce my guests for today, Julie and Steve. I want to welcome you both, and thank you for joining me.
Mike, it's our pleasure. We're really excited about catching some of those big ones you always talk about.
I can't wait to eat some of them later.
Oh, great. Well, first we have to make it to the first stop. So everyone stay with us while we go to our first stop. We're about to put the traps in the water now. These are called collapsible traps. They're called that simply because the doors collapse to open when a trap hits the bottom of the bay, just like this. I prefer to use collapsible traps other than different methods of crabbing because I enjoy them. Another method of crabbing is the trout line. A trout line is a method in which a crabber puts an anchor and a float in the water and lays an extended length of line out. The line could be anywhere from 300 to 1,500 feet. The line is baited about every 3 feet. As the boat slowly drives in a straight line, all of the line is laid out. When the crabber gets all the line out, he then drops another anchor and another float after he pulls the line taut. You then have to put a roller extended on the side of your boat, hanging over the water. Next, you drive up to one of the floats, pull the line up, lay it over the roller. As the boat drives down slowly in a straight line, the crabs are lifted from the bottom of the bay. The crabs are lifted, hanging onto the bait. As you see the crabs coming into view, you net them before they get a chance to get away. The bait then goes over the roller, back into the water, and returns to the bottom of the bay. Still another method for crabbing is the commercial crab pot. A crab pot is a cage made with a fence-like material, measuring approximately 2.5 feet high, 2 feet wide, and 2 feet long. The pot is made with a funnel area leading into an enclosed area. The crab smells the bait, walks through the funnel area, and gets trapped in the enclosed area. The commercialman picks the pot up daily, empties the crab, and rebaits it before returning it to the bottom of the bay. On a good day, a commercialman can catch plenty of crabs, maybe 20 bushels using the trout line, and there's really an unlimited catch using the crab pot. Trout line and crab pots are methods most used by commercialmen. But we're not out here for that. We're out here for the pure fun and beauty of it all.
Mike, about these traps, though, notice that there's no tops on here. How do you plan to catch crabs and traps with no tops?
Well, Steve, a crab needs distance in order to gain height. Say a crab wants to rise, say, 10 feet of water. He would need probably about 30 feet of distance in order to rise that height. Now, with the constant pulling of the rope, the momentum of the trap being pulled out of the water, few get away, but not many.
Mike, I noticed you have chicken necks back here. Is that really a good bait?
Steve, it's the best. I've used bull lips, I've used eel, I've used fish, I've used plenty of other baits. But the chicken necks I prefer to use because I believe the crabs love them. They're available, you can buy them at your local grocery store, and they're easy to use. I think they're the best. The crabs simply do love them. There, I've always had my best luck using chicken necks. Are you ready to try your luck?
I can't wait.
You've been out here before, haven't you, Steve?
I've crabbed plenty of times, Mike, but I've never really understood about the crab itself.
Well, you can ask questions all day. Just keep in mind that they are my personal opinions. Why don't you head on over to the point, and we'll start dropping the traps. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
We're about to put the first trap out now. They go out pretty easy. It's a good system. All right, Steve. Put about 50-foot distance between them.
Okay. It's beautiful out here today, isn't it, Mike?
Well, we sure are being treated good from above.
These traps are really going out nicely.
Yeah, they're going out real nice. This is a nice method.
Sure is. How long have you been doing this, Mike?
Steve, I've been crabbing, I guess, since I was knee-high to a Coke bottle. I have 4 brothers and a sister. I'm next to the youngest, and they used to take me crabbing all the time. My parents owned a shore home. We'd get a string and tie a chicken neck to it, and throw it in the water. When a crab pulled on the string, we'd pull him up little at a time, real slowly, you know? And when he came towards the surface, we would net him. Pinlining's a lot of fun, but of course you don't catch as many crabs as you do using the traps. But by the way, we're using 30 traps today. My license allows me to use 50 traps, but 30 is enough to handle. And when the crabs are running real well and biting excessively, 50 traps are just too many. By the time you run all 50 and get to the first one, your bait's all chewed.
Well, those chicken necks really go into that spring nicely.
Oh yeah, I designed these traps myself. I buy them from a friend, just a trap. And then I have my own ropes, and of course I put my own springs in here. Them springs make it very easy to put the bait in the trap. Now, years ago, I didn't know what I was doing. I used to tie them in there with ropes and everything. It was something else. But like I said, I've been out here every bit of 20 years crabbing this area, and I've learned to make things easy on you, you know? One heck of a driver there.
I've had a little bit of practice.
You own your own boat,
I have a boat myself. It's a little bigger and it's hard to crab off of. I mainly use it for pleasure cruising.
Oh, the Chesapeake Bay is just great for pleasure cruising. Well, Steve, you ready to try our luck? Here comes number 1.
I'm ready.
It's amazing, isn't it, how sometimes the crabs are in there so fast, they're usually in there waiting on us.
Yeah, every time I've been crabbing, it's pretty incredible how they're in there so quickly.
They must just be sitting there waiting. They know the traps are coming down, huh?
They like those chicken necks.
They love the chicken necks, Steve. I can't stress how much they do love them. You know, here comes number 1. Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
And just keep heading for the next one. And you can use a little gas in between each trap. It'll make things a little nicer. Oh, crab! Hey, he's a small one. He might not make it. He had to be 5 inches. But hey, for the first crab of the day, we'll check him out, huh? Hey, that's a pretty good sign. Crabbing the first trap. What do you think?
It's great. You normally measure them at the end of the run, is that right?
Yeah, I'll measure them at the end of the run. I'll go through them all, put the ones back in the water that don't make it legally. And of course, if they're real light, which I'll explain later why they're light, we'll get rid of them too.
These traps coming up to the boat okay?
Oh, they're coming up fine. You're doing a heck of a job, Steve. Aim for the next. That's all you gotta do. Oh, there's like 2 in 1 trap. Look at that. And they both look like they're keepers. At least the one's beautiful. Hey, that's great. Look at that. All right. Oh, 2 in 1 trap. I like that. That starts a great day. Head for the next. I'm ready. I'm ready now. You can tell I enjoy it out here, huh?
Yeah, Mike.
Sometimes I feel like a kid when I'm out here. Steve, I think we have another crab. Jeez, oh wait. All right.
Good.
There's a nice one in there, too. That's pretty good. 3 traps and 4 crabs, huh?
Sure is.
You're doing a great job driving. When you pull on these traps, there's a small one, he has to go back. When you pull on these traps, you have to keep in mind that when you first pull them hard, pull them steady to close the doors. Once the doors are closed, they'll stay in there for you. But if you pull it slow to close the doors, crabs are very fast and they'll scoot out of there.
How's the water feel this morning, Mike?
It's very, very warm, Steve. Oh, this one feels heavy. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, nice crab. They're not real big today, but heck, it looked like there's enough of them around, huh? There's a commercial man right there. He's out here for a living. He has a hard life trying to catch these crabs and does a good job at it.
Is he using the trout line like you explained earlier?
Yes, he's using the trout line. That's exactly what he's using. Oh, here's a crab. They're running small today, but we'll measure him and see what we have. He's heavy.
Are you allowed to put crab pots in this here river?
Excuse me?
Are you allowed to put crab pots back here?
Oh, no. Crab pots are only allowed to be put into the open bay waters only. Oh, there's a little guy, huh? Yeah, he has to go back. It's good to see a lot of small crabs too, because that shows that there'll be plenty for next year. You know, sometimes we pull a trap all day long, won't be a crab in it, the neck won't be touched. I personally believe it's because it has salmonella poisoning, and the crab just won't touch it. I tell my friends, and they laugh at me a lot about it, but hey, when you come out here and crab all day, and one particular neck has never been touched, what else could it be? Crab senses the salmonella and just won't go near it. Oh, this one feels good. Oh, he's pretty. There he is. Oh, he's a pretty crab. Come on in here, crabby. Whoa, look at that. Oh, we got a nice one here. Look, let me explain this to you, Steve.
Yeah, what's that?
Here's a crab.
Look, you got two of them there.
Well, he's holding on. He's holding on to the little one. She's a female. She's an immature female. See her bottom? She's an immature female. She has a different bib than the mature female. I'll show you that later.
Okay.
But what this crab is doing is he's holding on to her, waiting for her to slough, because they mate between their immature to their mature stage when they slough. I'll explain what sloughing is later too. But this crab is holding on to this crab here, waiting for her to slough to become a soft crab, and then he's going to mate with her, bury her in the seaweed, and walk away. He'll sometimes carry her for 2 or 3 days. I'm playing with him now, so he let her go, but did you notice how he came up with his fins wrapped around her? He was holding on to her?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Does she have a hard shell right now?
She's probably a peeler. Let me find out. Let me check her out. She's going faster right now.
We're gonna have to keep her.
You could keep her if she's 3.5 inches big for peelers. See, she's still a little hard, but right here, if you notice, see, I'll break her shell off and try not to hurt her. And see how her shell remains on there soft? If we're lucky, we'll catch a couple more peelers and I'll be able to show you better. The shell is still underneath the hard shell soft, because when she walks out, she'll be a soft crab just like this, and that's when they mate. We'll let her go now so she can get back to safety. We're about to sort our first run right now. We did pretty good, Steve, look.
Yeah, that looks great for
Oh,
one
they're
run.
beautiful, aren't they? We had 30 traps. It looks like we caught about 27 crabs. I always like to make the run and then sort them later. That way it takes less time.
Mike, a crab has to be 5 inches to be legal, isn't that right?
That's exactly right, Steve. And every crabber should have a measurer like I have here, which measures 5 inches. The males have to be 5 inches from point to point. As you can see, this is a nice one. Oh, he's a beautiful crab we caught. See, he's much larger than 5 inches.
He's almost the same.
Now, a female crab doesn't have to be any specific size. You can take her as long as she's mature.
Is that right? That doesn't seem right. Why is that?
Well, Steve, there's a contradiction there. The law states that as long as a crab is mature, that you can take her at any size, because they believe they only have their babies once from their immature to their mature stage. But scientists have begun to believe that a crab can store her sperm and use it for up to 1 year. Because like if the crab here mates with the male, where we're about 150 miles from the ocean. Crabs must be born in the ocean. So it gives the female crab enough time to go back to the ocean, use her sperm, become pregnant, and lay her young. But I sometimes think the female crab should be left alone. So what do we get? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, he's beautiful. Look at him. Oh, and he's pretty. Oh, the female lost her claw. That's 7. Look how pretty he is, isn't he? Oh, he's just gorgeous. You are just gorgeous. 7. Now see, when measuring a crab, Steve, like I said before, you must check the shell from point to point. See how he makes it? He makes it. He's legal. He's a little small, but you want to eat crabs tonight, don't you?
I can't wait.
You have to be very careful out there, because it's against the law to take any crab that's small.
What would they do, Mike, if they found you with illegal crabs?
Well, having a commercial license, I'm allowed, I believe it's 5 mistakes per basket, but I never have one. I check every crab and I make sure that every single crab is legal before taking it out of the bay. That way they'll be there later on for someone else. Here's one that's small right here. See, when you go to measure them, you put it against the point. Of course, this one's been broken off. See how he doesn't make it? So we put him back in the bay. Someone else will catch him later on when he becomes a larger crab. Boy, these crabs are real pretty. There's another pretty one. Look at this one. Oh, who caught this one? I did, because I ran the first run.
I don't know who caught it, but I know who's going to eat it.
That's why I run the first run, because the first run, for some reason, you seem to get the larger crabs. I guess you put your traps in the area and the larger crabs are around, and of course they're stronger than the smaller crabs. They come to the bait first. This is a beautiful run. I stopped counting them, but it looks like we have, 15 or 18. That's about 18 crabs out of 30 traps. Pretty good, huh?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, he makes it. Like I said, through the years of doing this, you can tell which ones make it and which ones don't.
Yeah. I'd have to measure each one.
Well, you should measure each one if you're not sure.
Right.
I've been at this a long time. Now you can tell for sure that he's not legal.
That's true.
so I don't put him off. Now, he barely makes it. I mean, barely makes it. But I'll give him a chance to grow a little more. Catch him next week, huh? If he sloughs.
Does that measure exactly 5 inches, or did you give yourself a little leeway?
This one, Steve, is just a little bit larger than 5 inches because I bring a lot of people out here. And I'd hate for someone to take an illegal crab. So what I do is when I make my measures, I make them just a little bit bigger because if someone's back here and they say, oh, it's close, I'll keep it. It'll still be bigger than it has to be.
That's good.
Steve, I've just finished sorting the first run. Would you like to try your luck pulling the traps?
Oh, Mike, I'd love to.
I'll drive a while.
Sounds good.
Okay, here we go.
This one feels good.
Feels good?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, he might make it.
Let's check him out.
Put the bushel basket closer to you. It'll be easier for you. That'd be good.
Okay.
Oh, Steve.
Look at that.
These are nice size.
That
Oh,
was
you
brilliant.
need a bait.
Here.
You should always have plenty of bait when you come out here to crab. Because sometimes the crabs, they're very aggressive. And they'll eat your bait up, heck, while you're watching them.
Mike, do the baits come this way, or do you have to skin them or anything?
No, they come with chicken neck skin on them, and you just simply pull the skin off. It's not hard to do, and it's not too time consuming. Steve, you did pretty good here.
Oh, man, I'm excited. Look at that run.
That's a beautiful run.
I'd say so.
We have to sort them, and it looks like most of them are legal, except for this little guy right down here.
Yeah?
Look, he wants to bite me. Oh, look, and he wants to bite me.
Yeah, I try to keep track of the small ones, throw them back, but,
That's great.
Yep.
Joel, would you like to drive? I'll change the baits.
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay. We're about ready to change the bait in the traps. We've caught close to a bushel of crabs already on the bait, and after catching so many crabs, we pulled them about 3 times. We pulled the traps about 3 times. The bait has dwindled. So I have fresh chicken necks here. It's a very good idea to change the bait, because when you change the bait, you get fresh crabs. And they seem to be larger, too. It's not a good idea to throw the old bait you pull out of the trap back into the water just yet. Because if you throw the old bait back into the water, a crab will come and pick up the old bait, and he'll walk, like, say, to the shoreline and feed on it. A crab would rather feed in the shoreline under a protective area, rather than to stay in the open water with the fresh bait. He feels more safe and secure if he feeds in the shallows, in the seaweed, something like that. You know, he'll hide under a log. 9 out of 10 times, if given the choice, the crab will pick the old bait up, walk to the shoreline, a protective area, and feed on the old bait, rather than to stay with the fresh bait in the trap.
Mike, speaking of crabs being plentiful after you change the bait and give them fresh bait, what do you think the stability of the crabs in the Chesapeake Bay is?
Well, Joel, just like with fishing for any species in the bay, I believe the crab is over-harvested by commercialmen and sportsmen alike. But given proper management and scientific research, hopefully the crabs will be here for the next generations to enjoy. All right, we're about to change the bait. We did real good so far, guys. I think we have about a bushel of crabs. Oh, there's a nice one.
That nice one.
You know, like I said, never throw the old bait back. It's a good idea to keep them until later. There you go.
All right, next one's coming.
Okay, let's see what we have here. All good?
Oh, good. There we go. You'll
Oh,
have
look at that.
2 of them. All right. Good. Woo. Oh, this one's a female.
Female.
Look at those red claws. Pretty as can be.
I love crabbing.
You really going to have to enjoy each part of crabbing.
I'll tell you what, if there's such thing as coming back to this earth, if I come back as a crab, I'll never touch a chicken neck.
When do you stop crabbing, Mike?
Well, you have to stop crabbing by December 31st. The last day to crab is the last day of December. It's against the law in Maryland to crab from January 1st until March 31st. April 1st is the first day that you are allowed to crab.
Woo, he almost got out. Got him back in there.
Well, without the tops, Steve, you were worried about catching these crabs without tops. What do you have to say now about that situation?
Well, you know what? Whoever came up with the idea of that, taking those tops off, man, I'm going to shake his hand.
Yeah.
Topless crab tribe.
Friends of mine in work, they're retired now. They showed me the idea of taking the tops off. A lot of people still use tops, and sometimes they look at me at the pier, right? And they're like, "You're going to catch crabs without tops?" And I look at them like, "You're going to get in that boat with them 30 traps piled all over, all the way up to your neck?" What'd you get there?
There they are.
Oh, let me see. Oh, they look great. Oh, they look great. Let me see them. Oh, that's it. Put your hand in there. Go ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead. Put your hand in there. I like to see my guests put their hand in there.
no.
You better be careful. You know what a lot of people do?
What?
They make the mistake when they go into a bushel basket and they get bit. They pull their hand back just like you're doing. But that's the wrong thing to do, because if they grab a hold of your if they grab a hold of your finger and you rip back, the points of their claws will tear the meat of your finger. Whereas if he does bite you, just gently lift your hand and he'll drop off every time. Jewel, you did great. I want to thank you
Like
for
this?
that beautiful run. He should drop right off.
Easy for me to do.
There you go. He dropped off. What a
Thanks,
run.
Mike.
You're welcome, Jewel. I hope you had a great time back there.
Yeah, I did. Mike, does the time of the day have anything to do with how many crabs you catch?
Yes. I believe you catch the best crabs and the most crabs at dawn. For some reason, they feed after, the night went by. And they slow down usually around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, noon. They will slow down. And they'll slow down on a tide change. It's better to crab on a nice high tide. The crabs feed on the tide. But even when the tide's off and when it's late in the day, I still catch, plenty of them. I've never had any disappointing times out here. A bad day out here for me is a half a bushel. A good day is about 5 bushels. But today we're just catching enough to have some fun, eat some crabs when we get home, and enjoy ourselves.
I always heard at least a bad day crabbing's better than a good day at work.
A bad day crabbing is better than a good day at work. That's for sure.
Well, I see all the commercial boats kind of like disappeared.
Well, they get their catch good and early. They get back to the dock so they can sell their catch to the market. If they stay out here too late, by the time they get back, the people who are interested in buying their catch are gone. The trucks that are picking up the crabs from the Eastern Shore, taking them to Baltimore, are already gone. So they like to get back at a decent hour so they can sell their catch to the market. Man, we did really good so far, huh, Steve?
They look great. And it didn't take us very long either to catch all these crabs.
No, we crabbed about, what, 2 hours?
About that.
Yeah, we could have done a little better, but we're out here just enjoying ourselves. Look at the blue claws. Aren't they beautiful? Take a look.
The red ones are pretty too. That's the difference between the male and the females, isn't it? The red and the blue claws?
That's exactly right, Joel. The males have the big blue claws, and the females have the red ones. Oh, let me get this guy out. Here's a pretty one.
Oh, watch
they're
out.
escaping. Okay, come on out so I can show you. He doesn't want to let go. You know, when a crab's holding on, if you just hang him and nothing else is holding on, he'll usually drop right off, just like that. I'd like to take a few minutes right now and explain the life cycle of a crab. Crabs are born by the trillions in the ocean. A female bears its young once in its lifetime. It mates from its immature to its mature stage. It then has up to a year to use its sperm. This gives the crab time to walk to the ocean, because we're about 150 miles from the ocean here, use her sperm, become pregnant, lay her eggs, and bear her young. Like I said, crabs are born by the trillions. They are born as microscopic organs. They float in the ocean by the trillions, and a special tide brings them into the bay in the spring. They stay at this stage for a month or so, and then they become a larvae stage, which looks more like a shrimp than a crab. They stay at this stage for a period of time, and they become miniature crabs, which are no bigger than maybe the size of a pinhead. Then crabs periodically slough. Sloughing is, like I explained, when they get rid of their shell, just like a snake sheds its skin. As the crab sloughs, it grows. It'll slough plenty of times in its first year of life, maybe 4 or 5 times in its second year of life, and then maybe just once, maybe twice in its last year of life before it dies of old age. kind of sad the crab only lives 3 years, but that's it for it. Now I have some different variety of crabs here I'd like to show you. I have a beautiful male we caught. I mean, he is just absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous male. And I have a female in here. She doesn't want to bite me, and she's trying. Now here's the difference between the female and the male. I have the female crab in my left hand and the male crab in my right. Notice the bib on the female. It's much different than the one on the male. It's rounded instead of pointed. Another interesting factor about the female crab is it looks exactly like the top of the Capitol building in Washington, doesn't it? And as for the male, looking at the bib of the male, it looks just like the Washington Monument. I often wondered if our forefathers had the crabs in mind when they designed these famous buildings. Now, I'd like to also explain the cycle on how the crab grows. Like I said, when a crab grows, it must shed its shell. This is a crab when it's at its prime, when it's at its heaviest, before it's going to grow. Notice how the shell is very dark and very black. That's because the crab is filled with meat. The meat inside the shell is packed, and it's time for him to grow. When a crab grows, it sheds its shell. Before it sheds its shell, it must be a peeler crab. Now, I have a peeler crab here. It's kind of small, not comparable to the large male, but you'll get the same idea. When you break the shell off of the peeler crab, when he's ready to peel, to become a soft crab, you notice that the shell came off of my hand, and the shell also stayed on the crab. This is what this big male must do the next time he sheds his shell. He must become a peeler so he can back out of his shell when it is time. By the way, when they do shed their shells and become a soft crab, they usually grow 1/3 of their size. After the crab becomes a peeler crab and pulls out of his shell, he becomes a soft crab. I have one of them right here. Look at this beautiful soft crab. Now I know he looks like he's not cooperating or moving very much, but he is. He's as soft as butter. So you can lift the bib, or lift the shell rather, and put it back down. There's his male bib. And he's very soft. He almost looks like he's dead. But you know that he's not, because he's moving a little bit. He's not moving much, but he is moving a little bit. Not like his peeler crab trying to fight me. Yeah, you're trying to fight me. After the crab becomes a soft shell crab, he stays soft for an hour or two, maybe 3 hours, in the shallow waters, hiding in the protective cover. After a few hours go by, the crab then begins to harden its shell. When it hardens its shell, it turns into a paper shell crab. This is a paper shell crab, or a buck ram crab. Notice how clean his shell is, and he's very soft. If I squeeze his shell, I can almost crack it. That is because he filled his new shell, his shell is hardened, and he has to grow. The meat has to grow into a shell to fill it again. So that is the way a crab grows. He will be a paper shell after he's a soft crab. Then he will live for a few months, fill his shell, and become a very heavy crab. After he's a very heavy crab, like I said, he will become the peeler crab so that he can walk out of his shell. After he becomes a peeler crab, he turns into the soft crab. I have another soft crab here too. And this one is a female. Notice how soft her body is. Look, her paws. You can bend the paws. It's amazing. These are very delicious on toast with lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, by the way, when you fry them. Once again, here's the simple cycle. Paper shell after it's sloughed and after it was a soft crab shell. Grows to its heaviest point of its cycle, becomes a peeler, walks out of its shell, turns into a soft crab. The cycle constantly repeats itself, and thus the crab grows.
And like, how come they seem so plentiful? We've caught so many in such a short period of time.
Well, Steve, my belief is it's because they're cannibals. They eat each other. Their mainstay diets are depleting due to man's presence here on the bay. So the fact that they do eat each other keeps them thriving.
Well, Mike, what are some of their natural foods if they're cannibals?
Jewel, their mainstay natural food is the soft shell clam, otherwise known as the manu clam. The shell is very soft, and the crabs can crush it easily and get into the meat of the clam. They also eat fish, and they're scavengers, and will eat anything they come across that's edible.
Gee, Mike, I see there's some claws and fins missing. Why is that?
Well, Jewel, crabs are extremely aggressive. They will fight. They will fight over females, they will fight over territories, they will fight over food. This crab here seems to have lost a lot of its fins and one of its claws in a battle. But not to worry, because crabs have the ability to regrow their claws and fins. Here's a crab here. If you can see, he has an original claw on the left. On the right, the claw is much smaller. He lost this claw, probably during a battle, and he grew it back. I've seen crabs with no claws. I've seen crabs with one claw and 3 fins. And they have that ability to regrow their claws and fins.
I've heard you say that you handle crabs, your bare hands right in the basket. I'd love to see you try that.
Well, Steve, they're pretty aggressive right now. The sun's on them, shining, they're trying to get away. But if you want, I'll show you.
I'd love to see that.
I'd like to see that one too, Mike.
But they're getting away on me. Okay, you're talking about putting my hands in here, huh? Okay, I have to calm them down. You mean just like this? You mean just like that?
Wow. You'd never catch me doing that.
I wouldn't recommend this for anyone. It took me years to do this. An elderly gentleman once told me that if you clear your mind of all the fear, the crabs don't sense your fear and they will not bite you. I've been out here where it's just been plenty of crabs. My friends go to tease and put their hands in there, they'll snap right at them. But if you have no fear at all in your mind, as you can see, these crabs will not bite you. Isn't that amazing? Look at that.
That's amazing.
And they are alive, and they are ready to go, as you can see.
That is.
And like I said, I wouldn't recommend it, but I'm an experienced crabber. I've been doing this all my life.
What happens to the crabs in the dead of winter?
Well, what happens, Steve? Late in, I would say, November, the crabs usually disappear altogether. It's amazing because they're just gone. People don't know what happened to them. A lot of people don't. What they do is they mud right into the bottom of the bay. It's called mudding. They go to the bottom of the bay when the temperature of the water drops below 50 degrees, and they scoot the mud up over their shells, so just their eyes and a little bit of their mouth is showing, and they lay there dormant. Not all crabs will mud. Some crabs will decide to walk to the deeper depths of the bay. We're talking 50, 60 foot of water, and they'll stay there in a very, very less active state, awaiting spring again before they move around. Now the females, they all return back to the ocean because they mated for the year. They're going back to the ocean so they can have their young. And in the dead of winter, Steve, crabs live off of their stored fat cells, exactly like a bear. You'll never find a paper shell late in the season, like late in October, early November, because if he's a paper shell, he won't have time to eat enough to build up his fat cells to live on them through the winter. He must be heavy at the time that temperature drops. If he's not heavy, when the time comes for him to mud, he'll mud anyway, but he'll mud as a paper shell or a buckram crab, and he will die. So very, very rarely do I ever see a paper shell late in the season. He must live off his stored fat cells, like I said, exactly like a bear.
Sounds like the best time to go crabbing.
Yeah. Isn't that something? They live off their stored fat cells exactly like a bear, and they shed their skins exactly like a snake. It's an interesting fact about crabs.
Yeah. I mean, you've been out here in November catching crabs?
Oh, yeah. One time, Steve, I caught crabs in November. It was really neat. My friend was back here putting crabs into the basket, and a light dusting of snow was falling on them. It was amazing. I mean, it's something that I've seen once in my life, so it's a very rare thing. It's just a perfect day where the snow was coming down just as a dusting, and it was something. He was throwing the crabs into the bushel basket, and the snow was falling on him, and we were just like, we were in awe. It was very neat.
That's incredible. Thanks, Mike. I really never did know what happens to the crab in the dead of winter. That makes a lot of sense, though.
That's what they do.
Hey, Mike, what's this big one doing here? He got bubbles coming out of his shell there.
Well, Steve, that's water. That's the water that was in his system. Another thing that is interesting is crabs can use oxygen and breathe it right from the water. They can also breathe air. Well, in order for a crab to breathe the air when he's out of the water, he must spit the water out from his system so that he can breathe air. A lot of people make the mistake of when they catch their crabs, they figure, oh, they're going to help them out. They dump them in the water and lift them out of the water like every half hour or so because they believe it helps them. It hurts them because, see, the crab worked very hard to let the water out of his system. So when you dump him in the water because you think you're cooling him off and helping him, you're filling his system back up with water, and it's twice as hard for him to pump the water back out of his system so he can breathe the oxygen out of the air again. So that's a mistake a lot of people make that you shouldn't make. Once your crab's out of water, keep them cool. Keep a towel, wet towel over them, especially if it's a hot day. Keep them cool, and they'll breathe just fine. Joel, look over there. That's a blue heron. Isn't he pretty, Joel?
Oh, he is gorgeous.
That's the bird that's on our license plates.
Well, there he goes. Oh, my goodness.
You got a chance to see him fly. Well, we finished picking up all of our equipment here in the creek. As I promised you, don't go away. The Wye River's next. Oh, they're beautiful birds, aren't they?
They really are.
Simply gorgeous.
Here we are at the mouth of the Wye River. I told you it was beautiful. Look at the swan population. I've seen the population increase the past several years. I believe it's due to proper management and government controls of the use of pesticides. They sure are beautiful birds, and their wingspans can reach 6 and 7 feet. Look at all of them. They're just gorgeous, aren't they? This is one beautiful river. Here's the mouth of the Wye right here, from the swans over to the next shoreline. I love it here. When I'm here in the Wye River, I feel extremely privileged to be here. We're about to put our traps out in the Wye River. In the Wye River, it's a good idea to have a depth finder, a good, reliable depth finder. I happen to have a Humminbird here. It's a great model. It's the LCR 400. I'd like to show you a few features that this particular model has. This model has a bottom alarm. If you set the bottom alarm at any specific depth, the Humminbird will give you a signal and beep at that depth to let you know that you're in the depth required that you previously set. It also has a fish alarm. If you put the fish alarm on, it will chirp to let you know that there are fish under the boat. You can look down and study exactly where they are. It also has a zoom. This means you can zoom right into the bottom and study the bottom only. It also has a bottom lock. You can lock on the bottom and keep the part of the bottom that you were looking at locked in the screen so you can study it to see where the fish are. It also has a speed. This enables you to change the speed of the screen according to how fast you are driving. I have my depth finder set to give me an alarm on 4 feet. Let me show you what happens when you reach the 4-foot depth. It's showing 5, comes to 4. I'm in 4 feet of water. The Humminbird gave me a great signal to let me know that I'm approaching shallow water. This is a great Humminbird. I've had it for about 5 years. I run it 10 hours a day many times. It's been out here, hundreds of trips. Never had any trouble with it. It's reliable, it's dependable, and if I ever had to replace it, I wouldn't buy anything else but a Humminbird. Also, when you're crabbing at the Wye, 10 feet is an excellent depth. I don't know why. I've crabbed in 9 feet, I've crabbed in 11. I don't do as well as if I crab in 10 feet. It's an excellent depth. You need the depth finder to crab the Wye. It's a great thing to have. Humminbird is the best that I've ever used. Like I said, we're about to put the traps out at the Wye River. Are you ready, Steve?
I'm ready.
Like I said, it's important to be in 10 foot of water. We're in 9. Watch the Humminbird. When we reach 10, throw the trap. It's kind of hard crabbing here compared to a creek because the depth changes so quickly. Okay, Steve, that's 10 foot right there. Now that we have them all baited from when we put them away at the creek, this ought to go pretty smoothly.
Gee, Mike, it took us about, what, an hour to get to here from that last
It's about an hour drive from the creek to here. a long drive. Oh, we're trying our luck here at the Y. Wow, beautiful crab. Look at that. First crab down the Y. Boy, is he feisty.
What kind of sea life have you seen in this river?
Oh, there's plenty of sea life below us. There's a host of fish. There's sea trout, bluefish. Oh, boy. Rockfish. There's skate. There's bluegill. There's sunfish. There's white perch. There's yellow perch. There's catfish. There's carp. As far as the shoreline, I've seen deer. I've seen foxes. I've seen squirrel. I've seen skunk. I've seen raccoons. And many, many, many birds. Oh, this one feels pretty good. Oh, he's empty too. It's a beautiful river, and it sure has a lot of nature. There's a beautiful cove. If we get a chance, I'll take you to it. One of my favorite coves that I've ever been in. Now it's time for our little safety segment. By law, required in Maryland, you must have a fire extinguisher with the gauge reading on good. To remind you, it's any boat 16 foot in length or over. You must have a life preserver for every person on the boat, and it must be the proper weight. This one is an adult large for people weighing over 90 pounds. We happen to have 3 of them aboard because there's 3 of us. This is a throw cushion. It's a must. If someone falls out of the boat, throw it right at them. As soon as they pop up, they grab it. It can save your life. And you must have flares. I believe it's 3, but I'm not sure. And they must be up to date. These are dated for 1999. I just bought them this year. They usually go 3 or 4 years before they expire. Also, by law, you must have either a horn or a whistle. It's a requirement by law. For my personal safety, I love to have a first aid kit. Also, with your first aid kit, it's a great idea to have meat tenderizer. Any brand will do. If you get stung by a sea nettle while you're crabbing, lots of times there's plenty of them out here. Before you touch the sting, you just, wherever you got stung, you put the meat tenderizer on, you rub it in aggressively until it almost hurts. Count to 5 to 10 seconds. It's amazing, but it goes away. It works very well. It's helped a lot of people out here many times. It's also a great idea to have 2 motors. If one fails you, you can always have a backup. This is my 6 horsepower Evinrude motor.
You've had that thing a long time, haven't you, Mike?
Steve, my wife, bought that for me, I guess about 18 years ago when I was crabbing in a rowboat. I used to rent a rowboat, and I would put the Evinrude on the back of the rowboat. That baby has caught, without exaggeration, 1,000 bushels of crabs for me. And it's always a great idea to have one. I've had it for about 18 years. It's never failed me. And the only maintenance I've ever done is seasonal maintenance, which they recommend changing the oil plugs, things like that. It's always a great idea to start your second motor. In case you ever run into trouble, it'll be there for you. Started right up. As you can see, she started right up. The Evinrude's always been reliable for me. I'm glad I've tried it. If I need it, it'll get me back to the launch. It's a very good idea to have 2 batteries on board. You can go to a marine store and you can get a switch, which will switch them from battery 1 to battery 2, or both batteries. Another great idea, if you're thinking safety out on the water, is to have a good set of oars, especially if you don't have a second backup motor. We finished crabbing for the day. We're about to put our traps away. I hope you enjoyed the beautiful scenic Wye River as much as I enjoyed showing it to you. I also hope you enjoyed the Chesapeake Bay.
You seem to get nicer crabs here at the Y than you do at the other spot we were at?
On the whole, crabs are always larger, not necessarily more plentiful, but larger and nicer here at the Wye River. Like I said earlier today, the Wye River is known for some of the largest crabs caught in Maryland. And I always rinse my traps at the end of the day, Steve. Take the bait out, give it one good rinse in the bay, and it gets rid of all the chicken fat stuff that's still hanging on to it. Oh, another one. It feels good. It feels really good. Ah, yeah, they're plentiful here today, aren't they? Here we are in a beautiful cove. This is my favorite cove of all. Every time I'm in here, I feel extremely at peace with nature. What do you think, Steve?
Oh, it's beautiful back here.
Well, I bought my first catch that we caught down the wide here today. They're beautiful, aren't they?
They really are, Mike.
You did pretty well. We have a lot of crabs to eat, lots of fun ahead yet. We'll see you back at the launch. At the end of a long day on the water, there's nothing like having one of these. It's a power winch, made by Power Winch. Boy, they sure named that baby right when they named it Power Winch, because it sure has pure power for pulling your boat out of the water after a long day. Believe me, you don't want to crank one of these babies. It's a lot of weight. Don't forget, Power Winch, made by Power Winch. Ask for it at your local marine dealer.
Mike, I want to thank you for a most enjoyable day on Lemon Joy today.
Steve, it's been my pleasure. You know she's 23 years old.
Nah, can't believe it.
Yeah, my children want me to keep it because they thought it'd be really neat to crab in an antique in 2 years.
That would be wild.
Well, everyone, it really has been my pleasure. We're not done yet. As I promised, meet us back at the house and I'll show you how to steam and eat the crabs. Here we are back at the house. I've used my Coleman cooler today out on the boat. It's a great cooler, and I don't think I've ever seen a cooler hold ice as well as a Coleman. I've camped for 3 days and returned home with some of the original ice placed in the cooler. Coleman also makes a great line of other products. I use their sleeping bags, their tents, their lanterns, and their stoves. If it says Coleman, you want it. I also have my old Coleman cooler. It's about 15 years old. I use it for raw seafood and bait. It's a great idea to hold your old coolers for this purpose. It's never a good idea to mix your food and beverages in a cooler which contains raw seafood and bait unless thoroughly cleaned. I have a bushel of crabs that we caught today out on the water in my old Coleman cooler. These crabs have been iced down for about 2 hours. It is a good idea to ice your crabs down before steaming them. This will prevent the claws and fins from falling off during the steaming process. They also will be very easy to handle. If you want to speed up the numbing process, simply fill your cooler with crabs, ice, and fill it to the top with water. Leave the crabs in this icy water mixture for about 15 minutes. It will do the same thing as I have done in 2 hours. We are ready to prepare and steam our crabs. I've always used J.O. Spice. I've steamed thousands of bushels of crabs in my life, and everyone loves it. J.O. Spice offers a variety of seasonings, but I personally use No. 2 mix. It is made with a dozen delicious varieties of spices and seasonings. Anyone can order J.O. Spice simply by calling 1-800-537-5714. I have here my 3-piece steamer. It is important to keep your crabs away from the liquid when steaming. In my liquid, I have a half a quart of water and a half a quart of vinegar. I used white vinegar today, but sometimes I use apple cider vinegar. This tends to make the crabs a little sweeter. Vinegar is very important because it doesn't boil away like water does when steaming. In addition to the vinegar and water mixture, some people like to use a can of beer. This is optional. I usually use just vinegar and water. Next, it's time to put the crabs in the pot. It's a good idea to wet the crabs before putting them into the pot so that the seasoning will stick to them. Put a layer of crabs into the pot. See how easy they are to handle? When you get a layer of crabs into the pot, sprinkle the seasoning over every single crab. Some people use it lightly. I personally care to use it heavily. Now that the crabs are seasoned, it's time to put them on the stove. There's a half a bushel, and here's another half a bushel. We'll get back to these to check on them in about 10 minutes. Steve, you asked me out on the water today when I caught some of my largest crabs. This one here was caught October of 1993.
Yeah, I noticed. The plaque even says the Y River.
That's where we were today.
Isn't that incredible?
Isn't that a beautiful crab?
Boy, it is beautiful.
It's one of the largest I've seen in a long time.
Wouldn't take many of those to fill a basket, would it?
No, as a matter of fact, when the crabs are this size, you'd get less than 4 dozen to a bushel, whereas the crabs we were catching today probably contain 5.5 dozen per bushel. It's been about 15 minutes since we put the crabs on the stove. It's time to check them. You lift the lid, I can still see some green. There's more green in this pot than that one, but I can still see some, so they're not ready to time yet.
I notice there's a nice plate on the wall, Mike.
Oh, Joel, my brother bought this for me. It says, "Don't wait for the shrimp boat, I'm coming home with the crabs." I'm ready to check my crabs again. I lift the lid, I see no more green. They are ready to be timed. Close the lid tightly, steam your crabs for exactly 20 minutes. 10 minutes on high and 10 minutes on medium high, and they'll be perfect. They are hot. About finished putting the crabs on the table. They look really nice. As promised earlier today, I'm going to show you how to eat a crab. There are many ways to eat a crab. I'll show you my favorite. Pick up the crab, you hold it in your hand, you take your forefinger and put it under the shell. You gently pull the shell off, putting it to the side. You then remove the apron or the bib. Then you turn the crab over, break off the mouth, one side of the double, and then you break off the other side of the double, removing it. You then break the fins off of both sides, remove the claws, put them aside. Then you break the body, you can clean this out if you prefer. Then you break the body of the crab in half. Then you pick up a knife, put the body crab on the table, and slice down through the middle of it. This makes it very easy to pick the crab meat out of the channels of the crab. For the claws, there are several ways to eat a crab claw. My favorite way is to break the crab claw in half. Take part of the claw that's easy to remove and put aside. Next, you turn the claw upside down, pick up a knife, insert the tip of the knife, and just twist. As that piece of claw comes out, you can gently go into the crab and pull out the meat. Same with this one. Upside down, insert the tip, twist, go into the claw, pulling the knife out with the crab meat. There's other ways to eat crab claws too. You can use a mallet and you can crack them. That makes it easy to get to the meat. Remember, crack them, don't smash them. If you smash them, the meat will be filled with lots of tiny pieces of shell and it won't be too pleasant to eat. There you have it. That's the way I prefer to eat a crab. When you've eaten crabs as long as I have, you can pull them right apart. Pull the mouth tip and the double, remove the apron, pull the fins, pull the claw, break it in half, and take the knife and slice it wide open. There you go. I just showed you the way I prefer to eat crabs. Like I've said before, there are many ways to eat crabs. Steve, Joel, why don't you come over here and join me? I think we're about ready for the best part of it all. I'd like to thank my guests again today, Steve and Joel. It's been a wonderful day and it's been my pleasure sharing it with you. Did you have a good time?
Mike, it's been a great experience. I think I've learned more in one day about the crab than I have my entire life living in Maryland.
Great.
Yeah, it's been a great day, Mike. And now it's the best time of all. Is it true you always let your guests have the biggest crabs?
Oh, Joel, where'd you hear that? Yeah, of course it's true. I usually work my guests pretty hard. You guys deserve them.
Like this one?
Enjoy them. Dig 'em.
Right.
Thanks, Mike.
I'd also like to thank everyone who allowed me to use their great products today. Without them, the day would have been the same. And for all you good people out there watching, have a very pleasant day. God bless everyone. And don't forget, if you see us on the water, to wave high. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, this has been nice, guys.